Hi, or welcome back to my channel Let's Game Design. I want to talk to you about a health issue that has been making my life a little bit difficult, especially now that I'm releasing the first of countless computer games. Perfectionism. Okay, the title already gave it away. But what is it about? I perceive that people in my environment are generally raised to be perfectionists, and in capitalist structures it is also enforced to some extent from an early age because one has to compete and assert oneself against others already in school. Competition fosters a race, and in our society most people strive for the success stories of the few who've made it, living by mantras like "you can make it too", instead of working for the well-being of all so that everyone can lead a fulfilled, carefree life. Unfortunately, not everyone can be rich. Nobody would be rich if everyone had the same. So, if you want to be successful, could perfectionism even be good in today's world? Psychologists also differentiate perfectionism. A surgeon should approach a brain surgery with perfectionism, as a small mistake could cost lives. However, if I as a game developer can no longer do my work because I'm too insecure and afraid of the criticism of others, or I have learned in my childhood to base my self-worth on my performance, and a failed game release would mean to my subconscious that I'm not lovable, then this is an unhealthy pattern. But before it becomes too philosophical or abstract, let's come back to indie game development. Especially here with all the crowded game libraries. Doesn't the game have to be perfect already for it to be played at all? Don't we just have to give everything to satisfy the high expectations of gamers who have seen it all? Okay, the answer could be very simple. Just remember why you're doing this. You love game development. It doesn't matter if your game is successful. If you're doing what you love and enjoying the journey, because as they say, the journey is the destination, then it doesn't matter if anyone wants to play your game. Check off perfectionism. Problem solved. Healthy hobby. But is it really that simple? I'm also making this video because I'm genuinely interested in where you in developers are and how you're doing in this situation. Especially since I assume that my perception of how indie games are released is also heavily influenced by the social media videos that I've been exposed to by the algorithm. Probably I can tell by how many people click on the video if this is a problem for others. And I could imagine that firstly, some people struggle with perfectionistic behavior, like pretty much everyone in my circle. And secondly, some may allow themselves to dream of being successful and being able to make a living from it financially. And it's not just about whether they enjoyed the journey. After all, the journey also needs to be funded. For me, at least, I can describe game development as the most time-consuming hobby and passion. But on the other hand, I've put more work into it than into the work I was paid for. Let's talk about how I deal with this situation. I don't know if you can relate, but my personal problem is that I never finish anything. Probably out of fear of failure, maybe also because my projects are always too big and perfectionistic. And it's quite obvious that completing a game needs a lot of work. I could make an entire video about how important failure is in life and how making mistakes is okay and essential, and it doesn't make you any less valuable. But that brings us back to the question, how much perfectionism is okay? Simply publishing crap is certainly also harmful and you don't learn anything from these mistakes. My completion perfectionism problem fails in two areas. First, social media strategies, marketing, and the second is game quality. Let's have a look at marketing first. I don't need to keep it a secret that we indie game devs need to promote our games to publish them successfully. And if we don't have a big capital, YouTube seems to be a good way to start, right? At least it's a big piece of the cake of social media strategies. And of course, there are a lot of YouTubers making content about game dev, or how to promote your game on social media. And finally promote their games, as you could say to me, which feels like a self-sustaining industry. And this makes sense, because let's be honest, I read that in 2017 there were 21 games published on Steam every day, in 2020 already 25, and 2022 went on with 35. So numbers are increasing. And technology, especially with new AIs, will make it even easier to create games. Which is somehow cool, but as we are still living in capitalist structures, we are all somehow sharing the same passion, but even competing against each other. And promoting a game seems to be very hard. Or isn't it? Honestly, I've never really promoted a game from me. And as it scares me a lot, I always hated marketing my different jobs. I thought that perhaps some of you outside are in the same situation, suffering from those insecurities when watching other YouTubers or indie game devs. Perhaps you're happy for them, but perhaps you're also a bit envious. At least it sounds impossible when you listen to your flatmates or family, reminding you of how many better games there are already outside in the world, or if you listen to all these YouTubers with those tasks to do before you release your game. And I already feel like giving up. Don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure no one will recognize my games if I just upload them to Steam right now. There's something to be done. But most of the YouTubers I've seen, for example, said that you need at least a certain amount of people to wishlist your games so that Steam brings it up to the front page. And you see these documentaries of indies who sold thousands of copies on release day, and as a perfectionist in a society of always comparing yourself to others, that's at least what I want. Otherwise my game must be bad. I must be a failure. Perhaps you had the luck of growing up in a motivating culture, peer group or family of risk-taking self-employed. But I didn't. I grew up in the narrative of getting a secure and proper job and keeping everything else a hobby. Which could be right, I don't know, but I never really tried to publish my games. Perhaps I just should do it before I give up and go on the long YouTube social media marketing journey. Now the second part. Let's talk about quality. 2 YouTube videos I saw in the last few days made me rethink. First, I saw a video by Jules about EA, demonstrating how well EA's marketing works and how they release such terrible games. Millions of dollars, many employees, buying up developer studios, and yet they still release such poor quality games. So, remember Benny? Don't underestimate paid marketing. But yeah, marketing was my first problem. Okay, the second video was of an indie developer who posted a few devlogs videos with hundreds of thousands of clicks. The videos were well made, so I'm not really jealous and I'm totally understanding their attractiveness. However, this wouldn't be a game I'd like to play. There were no interesting gameplay mechanics or anything else. So both videos were about games or companies with big media reach, but not necessarily good quality games. I asked myself how much time those YouTubers spend on their devlogs. For me, making a video is a lot of work. And it seems that many creators find their fulfillment in making these videos about their game development. Do they? However, I find my fulfillment in making games, not videos or marketing. I don't want to spoil everything up front and ruin the gaming experience. I have so many ideas in my head that I don't want to waste my time spending 2 days a week making a video about them to grow my reach instead of growing the quality of my game and making more games. So, if I do YouTube, I want to do it because I like it and not because it's necessary to make my game. Idealistic, I know. Perhaps I'm really slow with making videos, but maybe I'm comparing myself with the wrong people because they aren't doing what I want to do. Especially as a dance teacher, piano composer, choir director and author, besides suffering from depressions, I have so many things I want to do, but not enough time. As a result, I don't finish all my stuff. But after all those doubts and videos I watched, giving me the feeling I could never have a successful release, I remembered I have something, you know my TH, something important. At least I have a somewhat good game. That might sound arrogant or like an EA lie, but everyone who played it right now liked it. Even my girlfriend or a medic student friend who isn't into games played it many evenings with me for many hours and asked to play it again. The friends visiting me are new friends, and I'm not a very sympathetic person. That's why I truly believe they come back every week to play my game for hours because they like it. Probably not me. I saw their emotions when laughing, panicking, when entering the rescue ship in the game in the last seconds, or wanting to try again as they failed. So the big question I follow is, what is enough? Is a fun game enough to be successful or to be released? With regard to the 2 points I made, I've decided for myself, yes, that's enough. And why? I believe that it's a good guarantee for releasing a game to promote it extensively in advance and build reach through platforms like Twitter, Reddit, Instagram or YouTube. It's probably also sensible to develop the games as an indie that generate reach because one of your social media posts has gained traction. So I've been thinking about it in recent months. Maybe I should continue working on my larger project from last year? It has beautiful landscapes that would make great thumbnails that people would click on. Who would click on a picture of another boring zombie shooter? But I want to work on the games that I consider good, not the ones that have the best social media impact. If I had to generate reach before I could release my game, I would probably never do it. And since my personal major hurdle is completion, I want to release my game first and then promote it. This way, I have smaller hurdles to overcome. Making a good game and running a successful social media campaign simultaneously is such a huge mountain that I would rather surrender. It has always helped me with my perfectionism to choose smaller steps. So at least in 2 weeks I can say to myself, Benny, congratulations, you have released the game. And if I can eventually get a streamer to play my game, then hopefully it will be good enough and maybe generate more reach afterwards. The second point was game quality. Here, my perfectionism prevents a release because, for example, I use purchased assets. I could make better and more music. Certain animations are missing, although not a single playtest has mentioned them, but I know how critical real gamers can be. I should actually release on other platforms too, especially since my game is made for controllers. Nintendo would be a good fit. This time I only included local multiplayer. Even though I think it's nicer, people want online multiplayer. I could make more graphic settings configurable. Configurable? Yes. And who releases a game in the middle of summer anyway? Where's the limit? I think the limit is partly individual, because one has to like his own game. Personally, I don't mind purchased assets as long as they fit visually into the game. The pressure to create my own assets only comes from external expectations. I don't want to make myself vulnerable. The absence of certain animations hasn't bothered anyone so far. There have been issues with the difficulty level though. That's what I'm working on. I believe feedback is important. And currently the testers have enjoyed playing my game. And I enjoy it too. Therefore, it's time for the next step. Early access. My game is playable and fun. If the feedback is that players say they actually like the game but would only truly love it if there were no purchased assets, then I can still make changes. So my limit is this. Do I have a game that is enjoyable, doesn't crash, and provides players with a certain amount of content? Most players have had over 10 hours of gameplay enjoyment. That's enough for me. I think some are already 30 or 40 hours. Because what is a perfect game really? It's a game that I and others enjoy. No one can take away the fun game nights anyway. But of course, some success would be nice. My game can't be a complete failure for me anymore. And I have to find a way that I can handle individually with my personality traits without despairing and giving up before even trying. Of course, one should keep this aspect in mind already in the early stages of development. I used to always prioritize creating a completely unique art style and making every detail myself. As a professional musician, I wanted the perfect soundtrack, with each biome having its own music. And as the game becomes more dramatic, the music should change but still continue playing the same track, etc. I believe that a creative solo indie developer, one quickly runs the risk of considering too many things as crucial and comparing oneself to other games. There's always that one game out there using dynamic music, and then there was that successful title with a unique shader style. Even in AAA games, people still complain about poor animations. If you want to bring everything together in your game, avoid all mistakes, and realize all the great ideas that come to mind, you will probably never finish, and I have failed at this many times in my life. It often reached a point where I simply lost interest in my games and found them boring. So, if I work on a game for over a year, I lose interest and faith in it. And I won't end up releasing it, starting something new instead. Yes, maybe I lack discipline, maybe I'm too depressed, but I have to find a way to navigate with the strengths and weaknesses that define me. And I believe that this point is important for all of us, even if perfectionism isn't your biggest issue. We need to recognize our weaknesses and sometimes accept that we can't completely change overnight. However, we can still find a way to navigate with our weaknesses, rather than trying to copy another role model and getting frustrated because we might be a different person. And sometimes that can even sabotage us. For instance, when we believe that we have to create a flashy art style to generate attention, but our strength actually lies elsewhere, and we slowly burn out trying to achieve something we never really wanted in the first place. Perhaps my game won't be a success in the conventional sense. You will probably find out about that in a future video. But I'm proud that I'm releasing a game for the first time. I wonder if others struggled with these uncertainties between hobby and profession, between dreams and feasibility. Are you also afraid of criticism of others? Of putting your game out into the world? Or do you not care and just say, let it out there? Do you face other weaknesses? How do you deal with it? Or did you already achieve a release? I really love to read your thoughts. Feel free to comment down below. And of course, how couldn't I? If you're interested in my first release, feel free to check out Zombie Pete on Steam. Look at this. Made this cool cup for my early game testers. And little side note, I made one before. This was from my first game, Heroa, 10 years ago. So you see, I was close to releasing, but I didn't make it, sadly. Furthermore, I overcame another fear, the fear of showing my face here on YouTube. And as we talk about perfectionism, I will upload this video anyway, although I know that I'm watching around a little bit and insecure. I hope it wasn't too distracting. So special thanks for staying till the end. And as always, keep designing.